Working Goy Whiskey Reviews has returned. It's not entirely accurate because I'm not working yet. I will be back to work very shortly. Arthritic knee flare up. But the products we will be reviewing today were obtained while I was working. It's that fucking bay. Northern fucking Lights. I love this shit. Okay, if McCoffey Benchmark Old Number 8 is my favorite bourbon, then this is my favorite non-bourbon. It is a Canadian whiskey. I'm not a big fan of blended whiskey or American blended whiskey, except Recipe 21. That's okay, but I don't like really much else. I mean, I already reviewed Philadelphia Heritage blended whiskey, and it just wasn't my cup of tea. But this, I got a little story to tell you. Northern Lights Canadian whiskey with natural flavors, bottled by Barton. It's a Barton whiskey. Imports Louisville, Kentucky. So, I was working pushing shopping carts for a liquor store, and one time I was inside, and me and one of the other employees working there just started happening to talking, and I brought up, hey, I like sweet booze, I want my whiskey to have kind of a sweet taste to it, but I don't want to pay too much. And then he pointed right below, you'd like Northern Lights. It's the poor man's Crown Royal. It's just as smooth and as good as Crown Royal for half the price. And I want to say he was right, except I never had Crown Royal before. That wouldn't be authentic. I mean, I may have had a cocktail or two in the past that included Crown Royal apple with the Kuiper, with Smirnoff apple, with a bunch of other appley things. But it's not an authentic taste of Crown Royal. I never drank it straight or without anything. So, what I found out is that I do like the Northern Lights. And this is hard to find, to be honest with you. There's only like one or two places in my area that actually sell it. The small liquor joints don't have Northern Lights. They have Canadian LTD, which is a little bit less smooth and has more of a burn to it. So I'm going to pour a couple of shots here. Well, not even, because I'm going to show you a cocktail later on that I've been making. Okay, we got two there. Cranberry juice chaser, if anything's too rough. So right away, I can smell the alcohol. I can tell it's a neutral grain spirit. But it does a pretty good job at trying to cover that up because I'm smelling sweetness. I'm smelling sugar and corn. It is 80 proof, 40%. There's really no avoiding that burn. You just have to be a whiskey drinker. You just have to be into that at the full proof, or you're not going to like it, like the burn. There's no getting around that. So I tasted grains. I did think I tasted like a blended grain whiskey before. A little bit of resemblance to Philadelphia, but it's got that edge to it. It's got that sugary sweet edge. And you know when you were growing up in school there, and in the lunch line they'd serve corn, not on the cob, but fucking canned corn kernels, and they just fill, and they have this like whole like vat, like this hot dog like rectangular tub full of like corn and hot water. It looked gross. It looked really nasty, but it wasn't. And they put corn, so you got this little like souffle cup of wet, soggy corn kernels, but they're all hot. And that water is no water; it's buttery water, and it looks gross as shit. It looks nasty, but you put in a spoon, you take a bite of that corn, like, these are fucking sweet. It's very good. That's kind of what this reminds me of. It's got a little bit of corniness to it, a little bit of sweetness, and I think that's really the show changer, the showstopper is what's separating this from like other blended whiskeys. Even though it's Canadian, they do it differently. They're from like Canadian Limited. Now, I do have a history with Canadian whiskey. Actually, when I started drinking them, like I got a bottle of Fleischmann's before, and that was just nasty. That was unconsumable if you did not mix it with something. But the cherry cola saved it, and I put, just to be safe, a scoop of coffee flavored ice cream in it, and it turned out to be really, really good. I had about 20 of those in one night, caffeinated alcoholic drinks, and I was playing Dead Space 3 with my best friend there, and I remember it was like 3 or 5 in the morning. I was drinking for like the past 12 hours. You can like craft like weapons and shit. I made a really like retarded saw gun that didn't really do much of anything. Then I had Canadian Limited at the time, and I found out that it isn't hot. And I had Northern Lights, and when I couldn't find Northern Lights, in another place, I got Canadian LTD. And Canadian LTD is like this, but it burns even more. It's less smooth. I try to like talk to like my liquor stores, like, why the fuck don't you carry Northern Lights? This shit is good, for Canadian whiskey. It's good. And they're like, I only have so many shelves. I want products that are going to sell. And that's not going to sell. Canadian Limited doesn't like fucking sell in there. If you had the Northern Lights on there, that would fly off the shelves, in my opinion, because I see a couple like old folks here and there, who are whiskey connoisseurs. They buy Canadian Limited, Canadian LTD, like it's okay, but like this just feels smoother, and it's the same price. I mean, like Fleischmann's is like junk. I mean, like Fleischmann's just like but this is like $2 more than Fleischmann's, and the same price as Canadian LTD, but like does not burn half as bad. Anyway, that's the end of my rant. Let's just take another one to prove that I'm a fan of Northern Lights. This is water. I think my taste buds have changed a little bit. I'd still rather have my coffee Benchmark Old Number 8. I'm always going to love that shit. But if there's nothing else around, I mean, this works. I don't always like to drink it like super straight there, because it's just not my cup of tea. It's not McAfee Benchmark. But I mean, if I went to a liquor store and like all the bourbon was gone and I could only have Canadian, I'd get Northern Lights. Now I want to show you a hack. If you have a Canadian bottle of your house, a Northern Lights Canadian Limited LTD, or even worse, Fleischmann's, okay? Let's pretend it's worst case scenario. All you have is Fleischmann's that burns your throat like scorching fire. You feel nauseous even just taking a shot of it. I mean, you have completely well grade, like, junk in a bottle. Pretend this isn't Northern Lights. This is Fleischmann's or something else. Here's what you do. Pour yourself a shot like this. Okay? Then, where I got this from, this is like $6.49 a bottle. Other like mom and pop liquor stores, this will be like $8-9. Mr. Boston Raspberry Schnapps. I know, like, this is like Trailer Park Boys tier liquor. I mean, like, okay, it is pretty like low budget, borderline scuzzy looking. It's not De Kuiper, it's not any of the brand names, but it really smells like black raspberries. You know, it smells like a Tootsie Pop. This is a schnapps. It's 15% alcohol by volume, 30 proof. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your shot of whiskey and you're gonna top it off with an equal amount of Mr. Boston Raspberry Schnapps. Just put a little bit of that in there, swirl it around for a bit, and then what I like to do is I like to top off the rest of the glass with Mountain Dew Code Red. But my heart doctor told me to cut back on the fucking drinking and stop drinking so much caffeine. So mixing caffeine and booze is a fucking no-no for me. What I'm going to do instead is I got this Fit and Active cranberry water. Top it off just like that. Alright, grab yourself the nearest object at your left or right as a stirrer. I'm gonna use this fucking pencil, unsharpened, completely brand new. And I'm just gonna stir up a little bit like this. Now, this actually fucking works. More than okay. This works out good. So if you find yourself stuck with a bottle of cheap Canadian whiskey or a cheap like blended whiskey, do not fear. Don't gotta sell it. You don't gotta pour it down the drain. Just get yourself some fruit flavored schnapps, preferably berry, in a berry flavored water or berry flavored juice, and just stir all three up in there. But I'm gonna tell you something. I still love the Mountain Dew cocktail. The Code Red just mixes so fucking perfectly there. Even without the Mr. Boston Black raspberry. I mean, I used to fucking mix Canadian Limited and like fucking like Mountain Dew like Kickstarter, the fucking like blackberry Mountain Dew. Like that was so fucking good. Even the blue shit, the voltage, the blue Mountain Dew. That goes good with whiskey. The sweet stuff, the Canadian stuff goes with Mountain Dew. Personally, in my opinion, the bourbon um, better with cola. But everyone's gonna have their own tastes, their own flavors. So yeah, fucking cheers.